Welcome into a live mailbag right now as we're filming our show during our live edition of Falcons Today, which airs every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to run through some questions that you guys have for me, and we'll start things off with a question coming in from ATL Boy saying, chance of a Calais Campbell re-signing. My gut tells me as we are entering the end of the OTA phase and the mandatory minicamp is next is Calais Campbell may just wait until training camp to sign, right? He's up there in the age column. He may not have any interest in playing in flag football OTA minicamp drills, and he may just want to wait until August. And maybe by August, the Falcons have decided, yeah, we just can't bank and count on all these rookies to bring us a lot of production. Let's re-sign a guy like Calais Campbell. Now, the Falcons did make numerous additions at his exact position spot. James Smith-Williams, Brandon Dorless, Zach Harrison, not an addition, but a promotion from being a backup to a starter. So there may be a lot of optimism in the trenches when it comes to a committee standpoint. My gut tells me we're not seeing a Calais Campbell re-signing. Although, if he is unsigned into August, I don't think it's a money thing, right? He was signed pretty cheaply last year, and my guess is he get about the same contract this year. So I don't think it's Calais Campbell asking for an outrageous deal since he didn't get one last year. But I'm thinking the Falcons want to see how their grassroots play out at that spot before dipping back into the veteran well. Shout out your city for me, though, in the chat. I do want to know where everyone watching is tuning in from. So get in the comment section below. Let me know where you are watching from today as we move on to our next question in the mailbag here. Coming in from Bull Warrior. Bull, what's going on, dude? I don't think Kyle Pitts or Drake London is getting 1,100-plus yards because of how rounded our team is. I see what you're saying about, like, there's only one football, and in order for a team or a receiver to get a lot of yards, a couple of things have to be in play. One, you got to be super talented. You don't get to 1,000-plus yards by accident. Two, you need to be put in situations that allow you to get a lot of yards. Usually that means trailing in the fourth quarter or being tied and the team having to pass a lot. And that's where you see a lot of garbage time passing and guys getting a lot of yards in the last few minutes of the game. I don't think the Falcons' defense is so great that Kirk Cousins in the offense may not be trailing or tied in the fourth quarter and still passing the ball a lot. So I'll disagree that they can't get to 1,100-plus yards. Probably not both of them. That's asking a lot, but I definitely think one of them can get to 1,100 or more yards. As for their well-roundedness, I mean, is Rondale Moore really going to steal that many targets from Drake London or Kyle Pitts? I don't think so. Jason Greenway, what's your drink of choice for the punishment show? CLNS, turn up the volume. Thanks, Petey. Okay. Jason making a couple of inside jokes here. Michael Scott, I love inside jokes. I would love to be a part of one day. Drink of choice for the punishment show. So I'm glad you asked this because I was going to bring it up anyway, but I'll just address it right now. So punishment show, which is related to, if you don't know, me saying Dallas Turner numerous times is a Falcon, and then surprise, not a Falcon. Thank you, Penix. I said I would get shit-faced on an episode of Falcons Today. I've only changed that to not an episode, but to a live. I think it's a lot more fun if you guys can be in the chat and not watching like a 15-minute video of me just being a depressed drunk. So we'll do the live targeting June 7th. Right. 8th is the Saturday. 7th is the Friday. That's what I'm looking for date-wise. Drink of choice. I feel like I got to bring a bunch of drinks, right? My liquor of choice is always a gin and tonic combination. I feel like that's easy to take down at a bar. Love slamming liquid bread, whatever it is. And then I'll work on the volume because my headset broke at the start of a video, and I got no audio bomb, but actually too. So that's the inside joke between Jason and all of our viewers. Kai Hukonga. Do you think Arthur Smith began the change of culture from the previous regime, even though he isn't in the building anymore? Did the Falcons have a bad culture? I mean, maybe I'm just the only one that has my head in the sand here. I think every time a coach leaves, fans like to believe there's lots of reasons as to why it didn't work before, and they usually want to pin those reasons on the coach. And one of those easy reasons can be he did not install a good culture. Guys, if you want to see bad culture, like, go look at the Jags with Urban Meyer. Like, that's bad culture, okay? Go look at the Browns through all the different coaches they had for 1, maybe 2 seasons. Hugh Jackson, like, that's bad culture right there. Look at the Jets look at the Broncos under Josh McDaniels. Now look again at the Raiders under Josh McDaniels. That's bad culture. I don't think there was bad culture with Dan Quinn or Arthur Smith. There were issues. There were misfires and miscues, and there was plenty of blame to go around and a lot of blood on the coach's hands, but I don't think it's a culture issue. Ed Garrett next went up on the show. How many more seasons do you think we will be able to get out of Jake Matthews? When should we start looking for a replacement? Great question, Ed. When it comes to replacing offensive tackles, you usually don't need to draft one far in advance. Whereas like quarterbacks, you can do that, let them sit for a season or 2. Offensive tackles and running backs, you tend to want to plug the moment you draft them, if you take them in the first round, into the starting lineup, right? Whereas like sometimes a wide receiver could benefit from learning a little bit of the route tree in the NFL. And same goes for a lot of players on defense, of course. But for offensive tackles, when Jake Matthews hangs it up, you could just turn around to that very next draft and take the best tackle on the board, and he could start day 1 for you, because that's exactly what Jake Matthews did, right? When he was taken in round 1 from Texas A&M 12 years ago. So when should they start looking for a Jake Matthews replacement? When Jake Matthews retires in January or February one year, I think your replacement search is that upcoming April. I don't think you have to find one a season or 2 in advance. Now, you can look for a new swing tackle because that's kind of a question mark for the Falcons at the moment, but internally they're a lot more optimistic about the depth on their offensive line than maybe I am. But I hope that isn't too long-winded of an answer for you, Mr. Ed. We have more questions to answer in just a moment, so do not go anywhere. But if you want to get your hands on a Falcons t-shirt combo that's 25% off, listen up. Go to chatsports.com/Falcons combo. When you do that, you're going to get not 1, but 2 shirts, 25% off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. But go to chatsports.com/Falcons combo to get not 1, but 2 shirts, 25% off. JB1521, do you think we will pick up some players of names we know after all the cuts are made? I'm assuming you're talking about like cuts being roster cut down day at the end of September or beginning of September. It is worth noting that a rule change this year will greatly impact what JB is getting at here, which is teams can place injured players on injured reserve during preseason and training camp and not lose them for the year. If you're not familiar with the NFL nitty-grittiness of the rules, if a guy goes on IR before roster cutdown day, 53-man cutdown day, that player cannot play for that team for the rest of the season. The only way that player can even play in the NFL that year is if the player and the team agree to an injury buyout that allows him to become a free agent and sign elsewhere, which does happen on occasion. But this year, teams can place an injured guy on IR in the middle of August and not lose him for the rest of the season. So what does that mean? It means they don't have to they don't have to push injured players through roster cutdown day, cut the 53rd guy in the roster that they like, and then re-sign that player back to their roster once he clears waivers, and they can put their injured player on IR 24 hours after roster cutdown day. They don't have to go through that whole song and dance anymore. So you're not going to see as many good players get claimed off the waiver wire because teams won't have to cut as many good players for a 24-hour period until they can re-sign them back to their roster. So, JB, I don't think you're going to see as many even notable names to begin with for the Falcons to even sign. Nigel Ponder, how big of an impact do you think Bralen Trice can have in his rookie year? I mean, we've shown this graphic before to you guys, And it's about round 3 edge rushers the last 5 or so years and the number of sacks they had in their rookie season. And there's only one notable guy that stood out. That was last year's Yaya Diaby for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like Alex Highsmith, Jonathan Grenard, guys that had really good seasons a little bit later in their careers. 3rd-round picks, year 1, they only had 1 sack their rookie year. So I'm not going to put the bar for Bralen Trice really high. Now, he'll have more opportunities to get on the field and pass rushing snaps than maybe some of those other guys did because they were there to replace a veteran in the future, whereas Bralen Trice is there to play now. So maybe it's not as quiet of a year as those guys had their rookie year, but how big of an impact? I would put Bralen Trice's sack projections at 3.5. Zach Harrison was a 3rd-round pick last year. He had 3 sacks. I'm guessing we'll see maybe 4. I don't think we even get 5 sacks from Bralen Trice this year. Caleb Johnson, next one up. Would the 85 Bears have success in today's NFL? Yes. But here's the hiccup. Do the 85 Bears play with the 85 officials or the 2024 referees? Because that would dramatically change how the game is played. The 1985 referees let a lot more go than the current officials do. And so I would honestly pick the 85 Bears to beat a lot of 2024 teams if they also have the 1985 referees. If they don't have those refs, it'll be really hard for the 85 Bears, which were dominant on defense, to be dominant in the game because every time Richard Dent came up with a huge sack, it would be followed by roughing the passer and wipe it all away. Trucker Mike 404. Would Taquan Graham be a surprise cut? And what happens to Avery Williams? I don't think Taquan Graham would be a surprise cut. I definitely think he's fighting for a roster spot. Avery Williams, he is back from his torn ACL, which he suffered a little over a year ago, almost to the day. Atlanta signed their Avery Williams, I would say replacement because he's back, but they added Ray McCloud for special teams. And that was Avery Williams' role going into last year. Now, no one knows how the kick return rule is going to impact this year, like the kick return process. I mean, it's going to be brand new for everyone. But I think you're going to see a lot of teams start stocking up on return men because they're probably going to go through some more black and blues. Like, they're going to get beat up a lot more than previous years where they just took a fair catch. So I don't think it's a bad idea to have 2 good return men. Even if Avery Williams or Ray McCloud emerges as the more dominant return guy, you're going to want to have a good number 2. I wouldn't even call it a backup, right? Just a Batman and a Robin. All right, next question from Archangel, longtime viewer here on the channel. Will the Falcons play Penix when we are blowing out teams or possibly getting blown out? Sure, I think they absolutely could, and it's not because it's Michael Penix, the 8th overall pick. That's just what teams do when they get blown out or they are being blown out. So, yeah, I definitely think there is going to be an opportunity for Penix to play this year. I'd be a little surprised if he takes 0 snaps, right? May only be a kneel down here or there if Atlanta's in a lot of really close games and Kirk Cousins stays healthy and plays every single snap, which go look at Kirk Cousins' career up until the torn Achilles. That is Kirk Cousins. He is a bit of an Iron Man. He never missed time. Missed 1 game in 2021, I think it was, due to COVID, or was it 2020? But outside of that, yeah, Kirk Cousins, he plays the whole game in the whole season. So we probably won't see very much of Penix, but I do think there'll be an opportunity for him to come on the field. The Connect. Is Koo on the hot seat this year? No. I know he had a bit of a down-ish season last year. He had some uncharacteristic misses. Like, he had a game where he missed multiple field goals for the first time as an Atlanta Falcon. But I just think he's too good of a kicker to rock the boat on after one average season. Now, if he follows up last year with a worse season this year, that'll change things because kickers tend to have the plugs pulled on them very quickly. But once kickers get established with a team, they do get themselves a bit of a longer leash because coaches aren't looking to find a new kicker. Like, that's just an absolute headache. And if you think about a head coach, they have so much to work on throughout the week getting ready for Sunday. they really don't want to spend time watching kicker free agent tape. They just want to have a kicker who can make the kicks. Like, they don't want to give a second of thought to finding a new kicker and working on the kicker. Just get a kicker who makes the kicks. And as long as Younghoe Koo makes them more than he misses them, and with his track record, he's going to give himself a longer leash where if he starts to have a bad or two Sunday in a row, the coach isn't going to want to panic and start looking for a new kicker. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our mailbag. If you liked it, leave a comment. I always love hearing back from you all, so please let me know what questions you might have that I didn't answer on today's show, and I'll do my best to get back to you on them. So we're going to sign off. Make sure to subscribe. We will let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you all later on another edition of Falcons Today.